In the quiet of a morning, as dawn breaks and the world stirs from its slumber, we often find ourselves reflecting on our past, those moments that shaped us into who we are today. Imagine you're sitting in your favorite chair by the window, watching the first light filter through the curtains. The air is crisp with promise, much like the potential within each of us to change and grow. Let's take a step back for just a moment and consider something profound. Habits aren't merely behaviors we perform every day. They are the invisible threads that weave together our lives, shaping who we become over time. Think about your morning routine, how you wake up, brush your teeth, or make your first cup of coffee. These actions might seem mundane on their own, but when combined in a specific sequence, they form a tapestry of daily life. Now imagine if those same habits could change. What would happen to the person looking back at themselves from that window? Would they see someone different, more patient, more disciplined, or perhaps even braver than before? The journey begins with small steps and repeated actions until these behaviors become second nature. Habits are like a map in our minds, guiding us through day-to-day life without much conscious effort. But as we grow older, sometimes this roadmap needs to be updated. The question is, how do habits form? And even more importantly, can they change? In the quiet of that morning, let's dive into the world of psychology and human behavior to understand these invisible forces at play in our lives. We'll explore the science behind habit formation and see if there are ways we might reshape those threads of our daily existence. As you sit by your window, reflecting on your own habits, ask yourself, what small changes could I make today that would lead me down a new path tomorrow? And as dawn continues to break outside, remember, every action taken is another stitch in the fabric of who we are becoming. In the quiet moments of our lives, when the world seems to slow down, we find ourselves reflecting on the patterns that shape us. Each day brings new challenges and opportunities, but often, it's the invisible threads of habit that weave through our existence. Today, let's explore how habits form and change your life. Imagine a person standing at the edge of a vast ocean, watching waves crash against the shore. These waves are like daily actions, simple behaviors repeated over time. At first glance, they seem insignificant, but as we dive deeper into their rhythm, we discover that these waves shape our landscape in profound ways. Over months and years, even small ripples can create significant changes. Habits start innocently enough: a cup of morning coffee, a quick check on social media, or the act of brushing your teeth before bed. These actions, repeated consistently over time, become embedded in our routines until they seem almost automatic. It's as if these habits are part of us, guiding much of what we do without conscious thought. Psychologists often refer to this process using a simple framework: cue, routine, reward. Imagine you wake up and the first thing you see is your morning coffee mug on the counter. This becomes your cue. You reach for it, and that's your routine. After sipping, you feel more awake. This is your reward. Over time, this process repeats so seamlessly that you barely notice. But habits don't just form through simple repetition, they also change. Sometimes these changes are subtle, like modifying the time of day when you drink coffee. Other times, they can be dramatic shifts in behavior entirely. Reflect for a moment on how your life might look different if those morning rituals were altered or abandoned altogether. Consider the journey of Charles Duhigg, author of The Power of Habit. He recounts his own experience with quitting smoking through forming new habits. The story is both relatable and inspiring. By identifying the cue, stress, routine in the quiet corners of our daily lives, habits weave a tapestry that defines who we are. They are like the invisible threads that connect one moment to another, shaping not just how we live each day but also the person we become over time. Habits form so naturally and seamlessly that sometimes it's easy to overlook their profound impact. Imagine waking up in the morning, stretching under warm sheets, grabbing a cup of coffee, perhaps checking your phone first thing. These actions are repeated almost every single day without much thought. Yet, they make up what we call our routine or habit. Over time, these simple behaviors become deeply ingrained and automatic. We hardly notice them anymore because they're just part of the fabric of our daily life. Habits aren't just about repetition, they have a powerful psychological effect on us. Each time you engage in a habitual behavior, your brain releases tiny bursts of pleasure chemicals called dopamine. This makes repeating those behaviors even more tempting and rewarding. Over weeks and months, these habits can become so ingrained that trying to change them feels as challenging as uprooting an old tree. Take smoking for example. It starts subtly, perhaps just one cigarette with a friend or on special occasions. But soon enough, it becomes part of the routine, after meals, during breaks at work, and even when you're feeling stressed. Each time that habit is repeated, your brain gets used to expecting that reward from nicotine. So breaking such habits requires not only effort but also understanding how they've become so intertwined with our daily lives. Similarly, consider a morning workout routine. At first, it might feel like an imposition, getting out of bed early and pushing yourself physically when you're tired. But over time, as the endorphins kick in and you start to see physical improvements, that initial struggle fades into something habitual. Eventually, skipping your workout feels strange, almost uncomfortable. This is because habits have a way of becoming deeply personal and meaningful. Deep in the heart of your daily life lies a vast network of habits, patterns that guide our actions without much conscious thought. These invisible threads weave through every moment of our existence, shaping who we are and how we interact with the world around us. Imagine you wake up at 6 a.m. every morning to exercise or meditate. This routine is not just about physical health, it's a commitment to self-care that sets your day on a positive course. Over time, this habit becomes so ingrained in your daily rhythm that you barely notice its presence until something disrupts the pattern. In psychology, habits are often described as automatic behaviors, triggered by specific cues and followed by rewards. The cue might be waking up at 6 a.m., the behavior is exercising or meditating, and the reward could be a sense of calm or increased energy for your day ahead. This simple process, cue, routine, reward, is what B.J. Fogg, a habit expert, calls the habit loop. But habits are not just about exercise or morning routines. They influence everything from our eating choices to how we handle stress. For instance, reaching for that second helping of dessert every night might be an unconscious behavior pattern rooted in childhood conditioning, perhaps tied to the reward of feeling comforted and loved. The formation of a habit is often gradual but can change dramatically when triggered by significant life events or emotional shifts. Consider someone who used to smoke heavily due to stress at work but quit after losing their job unexpectedly. The sudden lack of that daily ritual left many smokers struggling with cravings, illustrating how deeply ingrained habits are in our lives. Interestingly, the process of habit formation can be broken down into several stages: cue recognition, routine initiation, and reward realization. Initially, a new behavior is introduced as an experiment or attempt to improve life. Over time, it becomes more frequent until eventually, it's almost instinctive. This transformation happens through repetition and reinforcement. Let's delve deeper into the science behind habit change and the quiet hum of our daily lives. Habits are like invisible threads that weave through every moment. They shape who we are, influence how we feel, and even determine the paths we take in life. But what happens when these habits start to change? How do they impact us on a deeper level? Let's consider the story of Sarah, a woman whose routine once revolved around late nights binge-watching TV shows and early mornings rushing through breakfast. Her days were filled with stress from work deadlines and an evening ritual of unwinding before bed. One day, she decided to make a change. Sarah began tracking her habits meticulously. She noted when she ate, how much time she spent on social media, and the exact time she hit the snooze button in the morning. This newfound awareness was like peeling back layers of an onion. It revealed that small changes could lead to significant transformations. She started by setting a goal: reduce her screen time before bed by half an hour each night. Initially, this seemed impossible. Her mind raced with thoughts until late into the evening. But as she stuck to this new habit, something remarkable happened. She found herself reading more and falling asleep naturally earlier than usual. The change was subtle but profound. Over months, Sarah's habits transformed her life in ways she never imagined. Her morning routine became a quiet ritual of meditation followed by a healthy breakfast. This shift in the start of each day had ripple effects throughout her entire schedule. She found herself more energized and focused at work, leading to better performance and less stress. But perhaps the most significant change was in how Sarah viewed challenges. Once she faced obstacles with anxiety, now they were met head-on as opportunities for growth. Each small victory, from waking up earlier without an alarm to resisting the urge to scroll through social media, strengthened her resolve. She started noticing these changes not just on a superficial level but deeply within herself. The impact of changing habits extends far beyond individual lives. It is we've journeyed through the intricate landscape of habits, those invisible threads that weave themselves into our daily lives. It's clear how deeply they shape us. From early morning coffee rituals to bedtime routines, from jogging in the park on weekends to meticulously sorting recyclables, each habit is a small story of ourselves. Habits can be like old friends. We may not always notice them, but their presence is felt in everything we do. They guide our choices and actions without us even thinking about it much, until something shifts. A new job, the birth of a child, or simply hitting a crossroads in life can challenge these well-worn paths. Consider Sarah, who has been jogging for years at 6 a.m. before work. One day, she wakes up feeling uncharacteristically tired and decides to push back her run by an hour. This small change disrupts the habitual rhythm of her morning routine. At first, it feels strange not starting with a jog, yet over time, this new habit becomes just as familiar. Habits aren't static, they evolve or disappear when we least expect them. Sometimes, they transform into something entirely different. Think about that once dreaded vegetable night at home, now replaced by a nightly family movie marathon. The shift in activities might seem unremarkable on the surface, but it represents a profound change within. The science of habits is fascinating. Neuroscientists have shown us how our brains form neural pathways with repeated actions. But what's even more intriguing is understanding why we sometimes break these patterns and start new ones. It's not just about finding better ways to do things or improving efficiency, it's also about growth, resilience, and adaptation. In many cases, breaking old habits isn't easy. We might resist change because of the comfort they bring, like the familiar warmth of a well-worn blanket or the reliable routine that eases our minds. But sometimes, letting go is necessary for progress. It's like leaving behind and understanding the mind is a lifelong journey. Subscribe to explore it with us.